is this? I don't know. It's me. It's Amid the Ruins. It's a guy who makes dire wave music. It's Amid the Ruins. Dire wave music. What I've talked about in, probably 100 articles at Jay's Analysis is the implementation of the AI smart grid and the giant smart cities, which is what IBM talks about publicly building. And that's where we're going, and that's what I think we have to be really concerned about. So all of these tensions, they are part of a long-term strategy to basically get everybody moved into mega cities. They'll be forced off of land and so forth for environmental reasons, and basically concocted and invented environmental nonsense. Then you'll be stuck in some hellhole mega city in a, basically a carton-sized apartment living over a Target or something, or inside of a Target or a Walmart, as I said several years ago. It's actually coming true now. There's actually Target cities. This is all part of the long-term globalist strategy. So, but to get there, you've got to have the constant clash, the constant alchemical blending and mixing and smashing together right out of Manichaeanism to produce the convergence, to produce the synthesis. And that's what's crucial in all this, and what is absolutely true from an alchemical, esoteric, philosophical, and geopolitical perspective, the fact the ruling elite seek to be post-human. jaysanalysis.com. can't try to fix today's problems politically. And this is what so many people in alt circles and alt-right and alt-whatever and alt-media, they all seem to think that there's like a political solution to man's problems. And really the whole of modernity is built on this neo-pagan concept of political salvation. And there is no political salvation for man, because man's problems are not essentially political, they're spiritual. Welcome. Jamie says I have more sass on air.
Yeah. More attitude.
That's because I'm full of sassafras. Welcome. We're going to be covering the Sean Connery movies as I listed. It was only appropriate that we do a Sean Connery show given the passing of Sean Connery. Sean Connery.
I have a Sean Connery joke.
Go.
Why doesn't Sean Connery like lobsters?
Lobsters?
Yeah.
Because of Jordan Peterson.
No, they're too shellfish.
Too shellfish.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. There's a million of those.
Yes. We were watching some movie and the hipsters were making Connery jokes, right? Be sure and speak up. We gotta hit that mic.
Okay.
So you may disagree with our selection, but that's okay. We didn't choose the critically acclaimed best. We just chose the ones that we thought would be fun.
Yeah, we got...
2 of these, by the way, are in the excellent book, Esoteric Hollywood. You can buy signed copies of Part 1 and Part 2 at my website, Jay's Analysis, in the shop if you don't have them. But we will be touching on some of those tonight.
What critically acclaimed Sean Connery can you think of that we didn't do?
I don't know. What's that one where he's like some old crusty old dude teaching black kids to do poetry or something? I don't know.
He was in one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Teaching the street youth poetry.
We chose the blockbusters and the fun ones and a couple esoteric ones.
Right.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about masonry, illuminate, confirm. That all comes up tonight. And I got curious, so I'm looking up to see what his most critically acclaimed movie was. So tell everybody which movies we're doing tonight.
Tonight we are doing The Rock, which also stars Nicolas Cage. So you get both Nick and Sean Connery for the price of one. We are doing Man Who Would Be King, a total Masonic movie. I'd never seen it before, so it was pretty eye-opening. We're doing Diamonds Are Forever, his 007. And we're doing Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where he plays Indiana Jones' father. And last, Zardoz, the weird, esoteric, Gnostic, Luciferian. Well, Sean Connery always does Masonic movies, almost, don't you think?
Yeah, well, we didn't even do Avengers, and he plays the Scottish lord who's doing weather control. But so let's see, Marnie has good reviews, Goldfinger has good reviews, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice.
Forgot about Marnie. We just did that with Tristan, didn't we?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And you and I had done it in the past.
Yeah.
Diamonds Are Forever. I'm trying to look at the ones that I would imagine Man Who Would Be King is a critically acclaimed film. I don't recall. Let's see what the critics gave it. Yeah, 8 out of 10. That's pretty good. Some of the more conspiracy-related thrillers we did not do, like The Next Man or Wrong is Right. I do some strange things going on there. And if you like the 80s, then you probably liked Time Bandits. Everybody liked Time Bandits. And Highlander. We all grew up with Highlander and Time Bandits.
What, Hunt for Red October? Remember
That's
that?
another, yeah. Russia House is a conspiracy or a espionage one with him and Michelle Pfeiffer, but I think it's pretty slow. I remember going to see Medicine Man. I thought that was stupid.
Oh yeah, he was in that Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, wasn't he?
No, he's in First Night. That's terrible.
It just said Robin Hood on there.
Was he in Robin Hood? Prince of Thieves?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a big role, though.
No, he plays the king.
Garbage. Dragonheart was dumb. First
I
Night was
remember
dumb.
thinking he was like...
Finding Forrester, that's the teach ghetto people.
Oh,
Right.
When I was a kid, he was like the Humphrey Bogart or something of Hollywood to me. He was like a staple, the best older actor when I was a child. Maybe I just saw Indiana Jones too many times.
Could be. I mean, yeah, I watched all of the Indiana Jones trilogy more times than I can count. So, which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with The Rock, because that was a funny Jerry Bruckheimer, lots of explosions.
Shocker. Who has more explosions, Michael Bay or Jerry Bruckheimer?
Yeah. They should make a movie about their explosions.
That's an Onion joke that a Michael Bay romantic comedy would have 2 explosions falling in love.
Oh, haha. So, Nick is in Masonic movies too.
Yes, he's always in esoteric movies. We did National Treasure, obviously. Yeah. There's a ton of those, but
so this one is about Alcatraz.
Is The Rock? I know it's Alcatraz, but is it the rough ashlar of the Masonics? The stone.
Good point. Yeah,
that's my note right
I
there.
know. I couldn't make it out what you were trying to say. Yeah, it could be. It could be. So there. In this one, I thought it was interesting because the military does not get painted in a very good light. And when you're watching, especially in the 90s, these big action movies, it kind of goes over your head, like the actual subplot of everything. This actually does have
a quasi-conspiratorial plot to it. Remember?
Yeah.
By the way, also, I'm very aware of the Mercedes logo is not the mark of the beast. Hopefully that's a joke.
Oh.
But the Name of the Rose, the movie, is not very good. So had nothing to do with the book. Is really good. I've read many Umberto Eco books, but Name of the Rose with Christian Slater and Sean Connery is not a very good movie. But anyway, go ahead.
So this is a movie about veterans taking over Alcatraz because they are mistreated by the government. They got no benefits, they got no jobs, they got post-traumatic stress disorder, they got issues, more issues than money, and the government will not help them, so they decide
the propaganda always wants the vet to be the bad guy because the vet is the person who goes and experiences the world and knows what's really going on and sees that the wars are frauds. So that's why you have to demonize the vet after all that stuff.
That's true. Lots of conspiracy theory guys are veterans.
Because they saw the realities.
Yeah. And
they realized that, shocker, the government lies.
So these vets were, black ops in China, he says?
Mm-hmm.
So what was his name? The main vet?
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. He knows that the government has this slush fund from selling illegal weapons. And he wants that.
Right. Right, and the government has other slush funds. See, I'm already
That's
Connerized.
That's a perfect Sean Connery.
I'm already Connerized. I didn't even plan it, dude.
Yeah.
Slush funds.
So they start doing these terrorist attacks. What do they do? VX poison gas is one of them that they send to Nick Cage in the mail or something. Remember that scene?
Mm-hmm.
And then thermite plasma. That was another one they used.
Right. This hints that that could be used in the demolition of buildings. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
We heard a lot about this many years ago after the big event that probably many of you heard about.
Yeah.
And
they're
Big
using
Nine.
nanothermite missiles.
Yes, that's right. That's what it was that I was looking at. I remember reading all about the wiki page on nanothermite when we were watching this now. Yeah.
Yeah. What did they say?
Just what I said.
Oh. So, yeah, I'm not going to say that.
I know, but the big 9.
Everyone knows.
The big 9, yeah.
Nick is a chemical biological man at the FBI.
Of course,
he's
obviously.
like Mulder, but with chemicals.
He's a nerdy,
right?
Chemical professor Mulder. Right?
Yeah. And Sean Connery plays a man named John Mason,
who is ex-British Special Forces, SAS.
And he is the only guy who knows how to escape from Alcatraz. So the plot of the movie is the veterans...
Which hasn't he done it multiple times? Like he did it...
Yeah, he did it once at least. Yeah. So the veterans take over Alcatraz and a tour guide group. And they have all these hostages.
So there's the bad vets that are the insurrection under Ed Harris. And they're using all of this angst that they have against Uncle Sam. And then there's the good team of the vets under Nick Cage and Sean Connery.
They're going to kill San Francisco.
Yes, the idea is to nanothermite take down San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. And so Sean Connery was wrongfully imprisoned somehow in this espionage in like the 60s or something. I get somebody's... J. Edgar Hoover. There you go. The beginning of the FBI.
Yeah.
Right? So back in J. Edgar Hoover times... They got Sean Connery for something, and they never let him go. Mm-hmm. And no trial, no nothing. And he's just been beefing up in prison. Not even rotting, though. Like, he's doing well. Like, he could escape and all that. So.
Oh, and don't forget the JFK reference. They have a reference to the fact that JFK was assassinated. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Because he knows all the secrets.
Right.
That's why they can't let him go, because he knows... Yeah.
Sean Connery
where the bodies are buried.
Sean Connery was the British SAS secret super agent. Mm-hmm. And he knows everything, so they can't let him go. Yeah.
So then they have these 2 teams led by Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, and the other team led by Ed Harris, the disgruntled veterans. It was funny, like, when they're trying to get onto Alcatraz to infiltrate and get these bombs defused.
Mm-hmm.
There's like catacombs under Alcatraz. Remember, they have to like crawl through all these video game.
It's like video game levels, really dumb.
Like a mining with the carts on.
No, it was like the Temple of Doom.
Like I was surprised, like all this stuff.
You would think that they would build Alcatraz a little more secure and not have like 1,000 tunnels underneath that you could easily escape from.
Giant man-sized sewer pipes and stuff like that. So. There's a couple goofy things. I wonder if that's real.
There's a bunch of goofy things, fake, not a couple goofy things.
Yeah, there's several goofy things in The Rock if you like that. This is also the steamiest movie ever. I don't know. They paid extra. They had the steam on 10.
Steamy Michael Bay. They dropping a steamer on your front porch.
And then, like, all the while, the Pentagon are the good guys who are giving the orders to Nick Cage and Sean Connery, but they're the ones with the slush fund, and all they had to do was just pay them money, and they would like leave, like, right? We don't
negotiate with terrorists,
right? So they had an amount, and it wasn't even absorbent.
The stupid ass line. Movies love that stupid ass line.
It wasn't even that much. Like they could have just said okay and paid them and got the hostages, but no, they had to like send in the special forces and get people killed because.
Right.
How the Pentagon do. Right.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yes.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yes.
By the way, if you would, feel free to leave us a super chat, and that helps support the stream. Go ahead.
Okay. The government is the real villain. Also, Scully's brother is in this movie. Mm-hmm. Right? The guy who plays Agent Scully's brother on X-Files is in that.
They don't care. Nobody cares about Scully.
Somebody might care.
If they're like super X-Files nerd.
That's an X-Files nerd pop quiz question. Mm-hmm. They make a point, fighting war with terrorists means casualties.
The Rock. What movie had... What do you think? The Rock. These stupid questions in the chat. I'm about to start deleting people.
What'd they ask?
Just go. Don't worry about it. What movie?
Oh.
The Rock. That's the movie we're covering. That movie has the reference to JFK. They mention it.
Yeah.
Sean Connery knows what all the government secrets are.
Yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. The war on terror means people are going to die, basically, is what this is predictive programming.
Yeah, I mean, this is all these are the 90s action hero movies that pre-signified the era of the coming war on terror.
Yeah.
And we've covered that in many podcasts. True Lies is a great example.
Mm-hmm. So, when they think Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery have failed, they're ready to pull an airstrike on the island.
They're gonna nuke it.
So they can't. The island can't nuke San Francisco. So they're ready to sacrifice the hostages and just blow up the whole thing.
Everybody keeps asking what movie. I think they're trolling us now. Oh. The Secret of NIMH. We're covering The Secret of NIMH. Go ahead.
Toy Story.
Toy Story 3. Go ahead.
What else? Oh, Dead Harris. That was your joke instead of Ed Harris. He got blowed up.
Oh, Dead Harris. That was a really good one.
That made me laugh. That was funny.
The Rock.
America's secrets are buried at St. Michael's Church in Kansas, which is where
once again, Nicolas Cage is on a secret decoder ring boomer journey to discover the secret Masonic esoteric symbols of America.
Yes.
And he goes to a church, some dumb, ugly Protestant church, as always, right? Providence Church. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to steal the Rock. I'm going to steal Sean Connery's bones.
Steal the nanothermites. So, what do you give the Rock? How many thermite pearls?
Is that all there is?
My favorite part, I don't know why, but like when he would take the bomb out and it was like a string of like beads. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bunch of green
goo balls. And it was just really nerve-wracking.
It looked like
the way those beads were.
It looked like something from a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, I watched some YouTube videos on nanothermite, and it does look like some of the explosive signatures at big events.
Yeah. So, that's The Rock. I give it 7 beads.
I mean, The Rock is a lot of 90s fun. I would definitely... If you enjoyed Con Air, we covered Con Air when we hit 50,000. We did the Nick Cage Super Stream. And we did Vampire's Kiss and some of those other old Nick Cage things. But definitely, if you want a 90s action double feature Saturday night extravaganza, throw The Rock in there with Con Air and you won't be disappointed. It's a lot of fun. Face Off too, by the way. Face Off is also a heck of a lot of 90s fun.
I always got The Rock and Con Air mixed up.
By the way, you don't super chat anymore with normal super chats. That's long gone. You have to super chat with Streamlabs. All you do is click on Streamlabs and you can still super chat the exact same way. It'll pop up and you will have your question read by e-celebs such as myself.
Send your super chats or he won't have me on anymore. Just kidding. If you want to see me.
I thought we'd have a bigger crowd on that Saturday night.
Yeah.
You like my little Eddie Munster peak right here?
Yep. I got one.
All right. So what's up next?
Man Who Would Be King, which is the most Masonic Mason movie ever. Probably.
Yeah, explicitly so, by the way. Not by speculation. It's 100% based on Rudyard Kipling's story, and it's 100% Masonic. It actually plays a big role in the story's narrative.
Yeah.
Freemasonry.
Another movie, the only other movie that's like that much Masonry would maybe like From Hell.
Yeah.
Or what else?
National Treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But so this takes place.
What if Nicolas Cage himself is the National Treasure?
He
and
is
all
our
along we
national
didn't understand
treasure.
that.
Of course he is.
Dude.
Yeah.
My mind just got blowed.
Your Nicolas Cage impression is National Treasure.
I know. And we all know. Nick knows.
I have a t-shirt that you gave me that says, "You're my National Treasure," right? With Nick Cage on it. Mm-hmm. He also gave me a Nick Cage pillowcase.
Which has disappeared.
I know where it's at.
Okay.
That sounded funny.
Up your butt? Where is it?
Hiding it from you. It's in my secret cuddle spot.
That sounds dumb. Go.
Man Who Would Be King. This takes place somewhere.
This is
in
Michael
India.
Caine. Michael Caine and the Sean Connery working together. This is Michael Caine.
What's his name?
Peachy.
Peachy.
Call me Peachy.
Yeah.
The Bloody Fools of Michael Caine. The Peachy.
Your note says John Huston Weirdo Deep State. What does that mean? John Huston Weirdo Deep State.
Oh yeah, this is directed by John Huston, who hung out with the Black Dahlia Avenger crowd and Man Ray.
Oh, okay.
Angelica Houston's dad, John Huston.
Okay. So,
This is Hollywood elite circles. So no shocker that it's, Freemasonry, high-level Masonic stuff. It's hot in here. I'll be right back. I gotta turn the air on.
so the character is actually Rudyard Kipling, who is playing the newspaper man who is telling this story of these two guys.
Right. So Rudyard Kipling is the journalist at the North Star, which is a Masonic periodical.
And then we looked up the North Star, and it had a lot of Masonic connections, right? I didn't even know this. There's a little star.
In every lodge, there's a North Star.
On the middle of the floor. I have tons of pictures of these, like when I would go to Mason temples and take pictures of the floor. I never knew. I always thought it was Venus or whatever, but I didn't know that in the middle of the floor it was supposed to be North Star. Mm-hmm. So it's also called the Eye of Venus, Venus Rose, Polaris, and the All-Seeing Eye. So.
Yes. So the North Star stands for the All-Seeing Eye. It's Luciferian, obviously.
So his the name of his newspaper is North Star newspaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we said that.
It was interesting on the train when they were just meeting. They said a Masonic codes to each other, right?
Yeah, I forget what they said.
They said they were talking about east to west.
It was stupid. Yeah, like.
And the widow's son.
Is there no help for the widow's son?
Oh, you're traveling east to west.
You're travelling east to west, mate.
Yeah. They talk about builders of Solomon's Temple are the Masons.
The builders, yeah.
Yeah. And so these guys are Sean Connery and what's his name?
Michael Caine.
They're two vets.
Michael Caine.
They're two veterans. And they're scallywags.
Yes, they're con men. They go around conning. That's their whole thing.
So they want to run a scam to subvert the king of some kind of providence because they're in India where there's all kinds of kingdoms and stuff.
Well, there's a bunch of superstitions. So they keep trying these different scams, and then they get this idea to go find a lost civilization and run a big civilization-wide scam.
So they're going to loot the country. So they go on this giant trek, right?
Yeah, looking for gold.
And they come across what?
Remember, they tell Rudyard Kipling the plan. They say,
Yeah.
we're going to go, because we have military skill as soldiers, we'll teach one primitive tribe how to do warfare. They'll beat all their enemies, and then we can steal their gold.
They end up in Kafiristan. Was that real?
Yes.
Did you look it up?
Yeah.
It was.
So this is the region of Afghanistan that was never Islamicized. They never accepted Islam, so they retained the indigenous paganism, and hence the name Kafir, which means idolater or the profane to the Muslim. So hence they are the Kafir.
So they look up to these guys because they're British soldiers, right? And the chief thinks.
Well, he shows that they have a gun.
Yeah, that they're mighty warriors. So he's like offering them his sons and daughters for sex and stuff. And they have this pact where they're like not gonna get a girlfriend and not gonna get drunk, and there was like one other thing until they had
no money, no alcohol, and no women
Yeah.
until they win the trust of the king,
right.
which is part of the scam.
Right. So they go on to amass an army by taking over these little cities and tribes and just absorbing their warriors into their giant army.
Right. And then the priests and the priest class find out about it, and they invite Sean Connery and Michael Caine to the Holy City, which is just some city on some plateau with a bunch of weird statues.
Oh, because they think he's Alexander the Great.
Well, not yet, but yeah, they start to. And so then when Sean Connery gets there, they realize that he has the same all-seeing eye square and compass necklace that he's wearing. And we find out that, 2,000 years earlier, they had been visited by Alexander. And for whatever reason, Alexander, I guess we're supposed to think he was a Mason. I don't know, but...
Well, yeah, because they're trying to say that all of the civilizations...
Right, were built by Freemasons.
Yeah.
So Alexander had left behind all of his treasure and his Masonic symbolism. Mm-hmm. So they think that Alexander's been reborn as Sean Connery.
Right, because he gets shot with an arrow and it doesn't die.
It doesn't actually hurt him. It hits his Masonic thing, right? His necklace. So they decide to capitalize on this, right? Him and Michael Caine decide that they can grab this gold and flee. And as you can imagine, within one summer, Sean Connery buys into it and decides that he is a god.
Well, that's what happens. He gets shot with the arrow, but it wasn't the necklace that saved him. The necklace saved him when the priest was going to prove to all of Tribe's people that he was mortal. And he rips his shirt open to stab him in the chest, and then he sees...
Oh, that's right. But there was something that the arrow hit something.
But so the priest sees the compass and square, and then he's like, that's our gods.
Right.
So you are sent from...
The arrow just went through his armor or something. It didn't kill him.
Yeah, it was something else, like a book or something. I don't remember. But anyways, so the priests, they had been worshiping the compass and square since ancient times.
The eye.
Yeah, the eye and the pyramid. Oh, and there was that creepy...
Yeah. Cyclops statue.
That was one of the creepiest things I've seen in a movie, I think. So they get to the Holy City, and they're just going to bluff it out, ride it out until they can wait to take all of the gold back with them when the snow melts in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
But Sean Connery starts to believe his own
BS
crap and wants to take a princess from the tribes and make a wife and be a real monarch. And he was like, and I'll stand before the queen and she'll recognize me as a descendant of Alexander the Great. And so he's got these big ideas about...
he buys into his own made-up god mythology.
Well, he starts to think he really is the reincarnated Alexander, right? So it's his own hubris that is his downfall in the end, right? Mm-hmm. They made a point, kind of indirectly, the night before the wedding, there was this sacrifice, and they were kind of saying that it was supposed to be some kind of human sacrifice.
No, they did what sounds like a human sacrifice in that little ritual room the night before the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they're killing somebody.
Yeah.
So it's an ancient human sacrifice cult.
Mm-hmm. So things do not go well for Sean or Peachy.
Right. Well, they get found out. Eventually, the high priest realizes that they're also scamming. Mm-hmm. They're scam artists. Mm-hmm. And so they flee. They have to haul ass and get out of there because these primitive peoples have had enough.
But they got caught. We won't tell you what.
No, Sean got caught. Michael Caine didn't. He got away.
No, they crucified him, but he
got away. That's right. He got pierced, and then they ran away.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So he got effed up, and he came back to tell his story.
Right.
Remember, he was all...
Yeah.
beaten down.
He was like a wandering hobo person.
Yeah, all he had was this crazy
It was
tail.
like a kind of hobo. I was like a kind of hobo with one eye. Got one eye, right?
And then, so the moral of the story is, I think, that it's a Masonic allegory for religion. It wouldn't be a Masonic allegory without some bullshit moral tale, right? So I think Kipling, as a Mason, is trying to tell us that religion is a tool, but it's a tool that can be misused. It's a noble lie that can build civilization or destroy civilization. And so I think it's atheistic. And it's it's showing the danger of trying to be con men and frauds. But although we know ultimately Masonry is con, artistry, and fraud. What do you think?
Yeah, lots of stage magicians are Masons, so there is an element of trickery and illusion in Masonry. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, they do sleight of hand. When they're doing, before they go on their big con, they do a bunch of low-level cons where they pretend to be, remember, he's pretending to be he's dancing around acting like a shaman, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Caine's helping him out. But okay.
Yeah,
Anyway.
This movie, it was a lot more colorful than I thought. I thought it was going to be kind of dry and dusty, but it was more of a Indiana Jones Temple of Doom adventure than I thought.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And like you said, it's the most Masonic movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So don't ever try to con an entire tribe into thinking that you're the reincarnated Alexander the Great. It's not going to work.
No.
By the way, we got 244 in the house. Be sure and smash that like button and share if you're having a good time. And click the bell for notifications. We do a lot of fun live streams here. It's all live. It's all improv. It's all on the spot. It's all entertaining for you. And it's also informative. You also learn things here. Did you know the North Star was a Masonic thing in every lodge? No, you didn't know that. So you're learning new things.
Even I didn't know that, and I've been to everyone there is. So
Just from these stupid movie streams. What's next? Diamonds are forever.
Yep.
They can only do something gay. I remember what the words go. They can something the something. Dun, dun, dun.
There it is.
Diamonds are forever. Yes, and of course, if you want the full analysis, you can get my book, Deep State Actors in Diamonds Are Forever. I wrote this many years ago, going through the Bond series. So let's talk about, this one is a weird one. We chose it because of the similarities to things in the real world. Klaus, right? Great Reset. Klaus dresses up like Blofeld.
Yeah, he does. Klaus needs a cat. That's all he needs.
There's other things going on in this movie, too, that are relevant to that time period, which is the character of Howard Hughes. If you remember, I covered Howard Hughes in Esoteric Hollywood, too, because he was a big role in the early days of Hollywood becoming a big propaganda engine, I guess is what you call it. Right? So I've got a whole chapter on Howard Hughes, Hell's Angels. Right? Howard Hughes was a deep state kind of character for his day. You remember, he's a very fascinating guy, hence why Martin Scorsese did the movie The Aviator. And The Aviator hints at some of the conspiratorial connections. Doesn't go too deep into it, but that's what Scorsese does. He typically hints at these things. If you saw The Irishman, it hinted at the JFK RFK assassination in connection with the mafia. That was all in The Irishman, by the way. Really good movie. Yeah, I more and more like Martin Scorsese's stuff is great. The more I rewatch it, review it. I definitely think, obviously, the mob movies are great, but I go back and forth on Gangs of New York. There's aspects of it that are really good, aspects of it that get on my nerves, but I was really impressed with Irishman. That was really good. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Martin Scorsese. We're talking about Diamonds Are Forever. We got Onassis, JFK, Howard Hughes, Ian Fleming. We got all kinds of high-level power player people, right? Elites going into the background of this movie. What are you doing?
Nothing.
You're involved. You don't have to hodl back there.
This is the one I remember least about.
How do you remember that we just watched it?
I know, but there's not a lot of notes about it.
I wrote a whole chapter.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm letting you take the lead on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
It would seem that there are characters that stand for Aristotle Onassis in this film. Perhaps Blofeld in this film represents Aristotle Onassis. It would seem that the kidnapping of Howard Hughes, that seems to be connected to the CIA, Robert Mayhew, and this kind of stuff. The Gemstone Files, as it's called, which connects Howard Hughes and RFK and JFK to the Mafia. And again, did you watch The Irishman? Hello, it was all there in the movie. Did you watch it? That is underlying this movie. Now, in the movie, it's not Howard Hughes, HH, it's Willard White. Willard White is the owner of the big casino. Howard Hughes owned casinos because he was connected to the Mafia, just like the CIA, right? All of these worlds intertwine. That's what's great. And it's all coded in the movie. Now, let's see. As you know, the Bond character is trying to figure out what Blofeld is up to in kidnapping and utilizing Howard Hughes' empire for his own purposes, and he's intentionally trying to engineer a false war between the Soviet Union and the West. So he wants to spark that through his satellite technology that's going to be a big EMP weapon type of thing, a big laser from space, SDI, Star Wars Defense Initiative type of thing. And if he can trigger, a big international conflict, he will corner the market on the world, I guess. I don't know. But a lot of really fascinating interconnections here. And already even back in this time, this was, what year was this? Do we remember? That was forever. Is late 71. It was kind of already in the movie. You could make out the connections to JFK and the Mafia. All that stuff is subtly there. What do you think?
I just remember they had to smuggle the diamonds in a corpse.
Well, but the thing is, it's not about the diamonds or the money. That's the interesting part, is that there's a higher level machinery at work that Blofeld is using above the Mafia, above Vegas, above the CIA, above Bond and British intelligence, above all of these entities, above even Willard White, who has a private aerospace company. So the private aerospace company gets taken over by this higher level secret elite of Spectre. It's Spectre. He's wearing the octopus ring. So Spectre takes over, and they're going to manipulate through a private company, right? All of these through the Willard White aerospace empire. All of these interests for world war and world domination. So it's not even about money and diamonds. That's the thing. Diamonds are forever in an alchemical sense because that's like the hardest stone, right? So you're trying to get the immortality stone out of the alchemical process. And the point here is that geopolitical interests and companies are playing the nation state battle game to try to attain global international dominance and achieve immortality. It's ultimately about immortality through technology. So that's what Diamonds Are Forever is about. And by the way, he puts alchemical, esoteric tarot card imagery all throughout the Bond stories.
Oh, yeah. How was he trying to do immortality? I forgot.
No, I'm just saying that in general, the motivation of Spectre and the evil elite, the Illuminate confirm, is ultimately about achieving immortality. That's what the Bond villains are always doing. It's not just creating chaos and controlling the world. If you look at Hugo Drax, if we do Moonraker, he wants to depopulate and repopulate the world like Epstein with his own seed.
Well, that's interesting because in a minute we're going to talk about Zardoz, which is the end result of their immortality experiment, right?
Right. Now, I'm not saying that in Diamonds Are Forever they're mentioning transhumanism. It's kind of implied with that technology to control the world.
Oh, okay.
And I'm saying that, the one with Live and Let Die. View to a Kill with Christopher Walken as the bad guy. He's doing genetic engineering to create the superior human, the super soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Him and that Grace Jones are genetically engineered. Right. She's a genetically engineered soldier, and he's a super high IQ Spurg. Remember? Mm-hmm. And he corners the market on Silicon Valley to then try to destroy it. Right. To rule the world. But it has that assumption of transhumanism with the super soldier element.
Is this one of your top 5 Bonds or top 10, or how high ranking would you make?
I mean, they're all kind of the same. I mean, some are better than others. No, I think critically speaking, the first few with Connery are kind of the staples of the good movie. So, Casino Royale. Well, there's an older Casino Royale with Orson Welles, but in terms of Sean Connery, you've got Dr. No, Thunderball, From Russia with Love. Those are really good films. Then they start to get a little sillier. They start to move into goofy stuff. Diamonds Are Forever is in that Sean Connery kind of quasi-goofy phase when it's about to transition over to Roger Moore. And then it just goes full goofy. Mm-hmm. So all the Roger Moore ones, even though they do have esoteric deep state elements, they're just really silly. Mm-hmm. And then they try to get a little more serious with Timothy Dalton. And then we interject to try to have a balance of serious action with Pierce Brosnan and silly.
Yeah,
but
gags.
They're silly too.
Yeah.
There's always gags, but I mean, with the Roger Moore ones are just really goofy. Right. They're so cheesy.
Is he the one that runs on the back of the alligators? Which one is
Live and
that?
Let Die.
Yeah. Live and Let Die. That's my favorite one, I think.
That's the one where they go to the Congo and as Baron Samedi.
Yeah, that's the best one. Is that the one where the guy blows up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he inflates and pops.
Yes. That guy pops.
Anyway, I'm going into the Bond lore, but I'm just trying to say that Spectre is an international terror organization that runs black markets that's trying to manipulate all the countries and destroy them and outdo them and control them. And so Ian Fleming was telling us, decades actually before the 90s movies, that what was coming was a war on terror, right? An international terror organization. I mean, he was putting this back in the 1960s films. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Well, what do you give it?
Oh, by the way, I can't forget the hilarious scene where Bond stumbles onto the sound stage where Willard White and company are filming the moon landing.
Oh, yeah.
So now, of course, everybody says, oh, that's just because they're planning to do the moon landing and testing it out. Well, why are they filming it? Mm-hmm. I mean, why are they filming all of these? Let's test what it's like and put on the full suit and have a big bunch of damn dust everywhere and a fake ass set and a tinfoil spaceship that everybody's going to fly in. No, come on. I mean, the movie is kind of telling you that the whole story is Hollywood, in my view.
That's a good point. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. And why is that in a Bond film, by the way? Mm-hmm. Why is there a soundstage out in the middle of the desert where Willard White in Las Vegas is filming a moon landing, right?
Yeah. Crazy. All right, let's move on. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Junior?
We named the dog Indiana.
Junior? That's Sean Connery's line. Like half the dialogue of the script is just him saying Junior in this movie.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I mean, anybody who grew up in the 80s, how could you not like Indiana Jones, right? Mm-hmm.
So this one starts with River Phoenix. Remember him?
Right, so we immediately have another kind of Hollywood royalty esoteric connection there with the suspicions about the death, of course, of River Phoenix. I think everybody has probably heard of this conspiracy. I do think there is something to it. He dies at the Viper Room after the supposed warnings of Variety, I think it's Variety magazine interview where he talks about the Children of God cult being a cult that it was involved in trafficking. And of course, this all came out. It was all vindicated. So perhaps River Phoenix did not overdose. Perhaps there was something else going on. I don't know. I don't know if anybody does know the full story other than whoever perhaps might have done it if he was done away with. But yeah, I think that that's probably the case. And then we get, a lot of the people who come out of the Children of God cult into the Hollywood world. I don't think that's accidental. You got Rose McGowan. She talks about it being a mind control cult. She talks about Hollywood as a big CIA cult. You've got the Phoenix family. Who else comes out of Children of God? Somebody else in the music Hollywood scene. So quite a few famous people were raised in this bizarro cult. where David Berg, Moses David Berg, the founder, was involved in human trafficking.
And then you've got the snakes at the beginning. This is where he...
Oh, we find out how he was traumatized.
His, trigger for snakes. So he's trying to get this artifact from another...
It's the Cross of Coronado. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah. It's showing that Indy has this, like, moral compass.
He's an altruistic about archaeology. I don't know what.
Yeah, artifacts and stuff.
Oh, because of his dad being an archaeologist or an archivist or Professor Henry is professor of archaeology, I guess.
Well, it's a little deep because he's got father issues, right?
Yes, he does.
He definitely has daddy issues in this movie, trying to impress his dad. It never did say what happened to his mom. Do you know? No,
I don't know.
There's a conversation about it, and he's like, "That's what happened to your mom."
I forgot what he said.
But it was very vague, and I wonder if anybody knows the lore of Indiana Jones and what happened to his mom.
Yeah.
But anyways, I enjoyed watching it with you because I've seen it a zillion times as a kid, but he knew a lot more Easter eggs and secret things that I never noticed before, such as when they're on the train and he gets into the magician's disappearing box, there's a Baphomet goat on top, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pentagram and a Baphomet set on top of the box. I'm not reading too much into that. It's just odd that it's there. But why the snake? One thing that I didn't understand, I've never understood, is, young Indy here as River Phoenix undergoes multiple traumatic experiences on this circus train with multiple animals. One of which is the rhinoceros who almost takes out his privy member. Mm-hmm. Why is he traumatized by the snakes? I mean, I would be more traumatized by a rhinoceros almost taking out my junk.
Or a
than
lion.
This stupid ass snake. Or the lion, yeah. So I don't know why. But he grabs the lion's whip. So I think that's why he's not afraid of the lion. He figures it out. But I don't know. It's just movie. It's the logic of Hollywood movie world. But yes, so we find out that he has dad issues. We know why he has dad issues. He has an absentee father. Mm-hmm. And so there is that underlying father-son theme, which actually will relate to the Gnostic element of father-son and gnosis that will underlie this movie and its plot. Literally in like a Holy Blood, Holy Grail, Da Vinci Code level stuff here.
Well, I'm thinking of the other two Indiana Jones. And they're just as esoteric. These are like super fun staples of 80s movie classic, but also...
They are pretty esoteric. I've done analyses of...
The first one's about Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, I did analysis of that. Well, they have to go to Egypt, and they have that whole, Room of Ra and all that.
Mm-hmm. The second one's about Kali cannibal cults. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Last Crusade, it's very Templar heavy, Gnostic heavy,
Yes, the whole thesis is Templar, Priory of Zion bullshit, basically.
Is keeping this cup, the Holy Grail, which is really dumb. But there's some stuff in there like Indiana Jones works for the OSS.
That's not in this. That is in the fourth one. It's implied that Indy is a spy of sorts, and then it eventually is confirmed when he's being interrogated in the Crystal Skulls. Mm-hmm. But that was always, what they had in mind. So I started noticing that when I was watching, I was doing some reading about how academics, have been recruited into intelligence work for a long time. David Price has a whole book on that. Anthropologists. Well, if anthropologists were recruited, then so were archaeologists. Mm-hmm. It's a no-brainer. And so, yes, Indy is basically, this is pre-OSS, but he's more or less going to be that. Yeah. And that's why by the time of Crystal Skulls, it is the OSS.
Also, it's true that Hitler did try to seek out the mythological items. Like, I don't know if he went for Ark of the Covenant, like in the first movie, but he did go for the Spear of Longinus, right? Mm-hmm. And what else?
I don't know why the alert box isn't showing up, but I can still see your super chats even though I can't see the alert box. Maybe it's behind us. Keep going, don't worry.
Yeah, Nazis, everybody knows they were influenced by the Blavatsky and the Thule Society and the Ubermensch and Superman tales and lot of magical thinking going on in the Nazi Party. So it's not that far out of into fantasy that Nazis would be searching for the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant or weird stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. What did he mention about Joseph of Arimathea?
The Holy Blood Holy Grail stuff. Oh. The descendants of Jesus.
Okay.
Gibberish. So dumb.
There is a scene where they go to an old library in Venice that used to be a church.
Yeah, X marks the spot.
Yeah. So they find the X on the ground.
Junior.
And then you knew a good Easter egg when he goes up the staircase to look at the X from above. The bookshelf behind him is fake.
Obviously.
I never noticed that.
It is totally fake. Yeah. And when you go back now and watch movies on, Blu-ray, really HD level, you can see a lot more of these mistakes, especially in 80s and 90s movies like that.
There's that one scene where he scares the birds up into the air to cause a plane to crash.
Yes, this is in another Bond movie, right? So this is a nod, I think, to Sean Connery doing this in one of the Bond movies. I think Never Say Never Again, but I'm not positive on that. It's the MGM one. What's the MGM? Go ahead. I don't remember what the MGM. I always get these mixed up. There's Never Say Never Again is the one that has like the mind control MK Ultra stuff in it, but then the MGM Sean Connery, which is the weird one, the outlier because it's not the normal company that does Bond movies. The people in the chat will know it, but it takes time for them to catch up.
Oh.
So they actually Never Say Never Again, yeah. So actually they had gone to Roger Moore. Roger Moore had done all these Bonds, and then another company had the rights to Never Say Never Again, MGM, and they said, we want Sean Connery to come back. And so he did a 1983 advanced age James Bond. And then in 1984, Roger Moore came back, not with MGM, but with the other Ion Pictures, and did the View to a Kill.
Oh, okay. So they find themselves in Jordan at Petra.
Yes, the Nabatean pagan site.
End of their quest. Well, that particular building or carving that they went into have a lot of history and even used for...
It's Eon, by the way. I apologize. I said Ion. I meant Eon Pictures. Go ahead.
No, just the wiki about that that place in Petra. It was used by Byzantine
it was a pre-Christian Nabatean pagan thing, and then it became a Byzantine, which I didn't know there was a Byzantine history to Petra.
Yeah. So that was interesting. We were laughing about the Templar booby traps. Remember?
Yeah, it was really stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why would you set up a video game level booby trap? I mean...
Yeah.
And by the way, if the penitent man will pass, so you're supposed to bow, you duck your head so a big razor blade doesn't cut your head off. But then there's another one that comes out of the ground.
Yeah,
how are you supposed
he
to
has to roll.
How are you supposed to know to roll?
I never did a tuck and roll.
The penitent man passes and rolls.
At church.
Stop, drop, and roll to be penitent.
That's it. Well, he has to face all these temptations and trials like greed, power, lust, because she...
Yeah, stop. But I never noticed that, by the way, that there is, like, all of the deadly sins, temptations are present in this. The greed, the lust, the envy, all that.
Because the blonde Nazi lady is a sex operative.
Yes, right? She is a Ilsa. Ilsa!
Yeah.
And she sleeps with both of them, if you remember. That's the whole dumb joke when they're tied up to the chair when they're about to get burnt. Remember? Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Because he's like, she talks in her sleep.
She talks in her sleep.
Yeah.
So she's a swallow operative. But I never noticed that. I didn't know what a swallow operative was when I was a kid. So obviously you miss all this, when you watch this when you're young. You come back and watch it when you're an adult. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. In one of the trials, he has to do the name of God.
Yes,
Very
which
Kabbalistic
is Jehovah,
kind of,
but it's in Latin. So not sure why they thought it would be in Latin, given that it's a Byzantine monastery.
Yeah.
The Byzantines wouldn't have written Jehovah in Latin, but whatever.
And then I thought it was interesting at the very end, he says he's found illumination.
Yeah.
Right.
So what did you find on the Holy Grail quest? The Holy Grail quest is not ultimately about that physical material object of the cup. It's supposed to be about higher level moral, illumination. And so it's kind of still this Masonic Gnostic philosophy behind the Last Crusade. And Henry Jones, explains what that means. It's enlightenment or illumination. Mm-hmm. May he when he's drawing his diary, he always says, "May he who illuminated this illuminate me."
Oh yeah, yeah.
And by the way, he had to reconcile with his father archetype to not be destroyed and to not give in to the greed. Remember?
You mean God the Father or
both?
Sean Connery the Father.
Both.
Yeah.
That's the point of that's how it's Gnostic.
Oh yeah.
So Sean Connery, he would have died if he hadn't listened to and obeyed his father when his father said, "Let it go." Remember? Mm-hmm. He said, "Indiana." It's the first time he calls him Indiana.
Right.
So he acknowledges what Harrison Ford wanted to be called.
Yeah.
And then later says, "We're called the dog, Indiana."
Yep.
We named the dog Indiana. And then, "You're named after a dog?" Ha ha! Bad dates.
That's one of my favorite characters in those movies.
Salah?
Yeah.
Well, he's Gimli the dwarf.
Comic relief.
He's Gimli.
Oh, yeah. I hope they make another Indiana.
Asps, very deadly.
Did you like the fourth one?
Another one? No.
No.
Fourth one's terrible.
It had everything a movie could possibly ever have.
I mean, I think they could
all
have.
The movies
it could have been
good,
good, but it's not very good.
Yeah. I think the swinging through the vines like a monkey, Shia LaBeouf.
I think everybody says
that's where
the dumbest part.
It crossed the threshold of cheesy, too.
By the way, we'll be reading the Super Chats here in a moment. Feel free to continue helping us support the show with them fat Super Chats. Thank you to everybody who has Super Chatted so far. And are we on the last one?
Yeah, Zardoz.
Zardoz, the craziest of all. What is this?
That's the year 2293.
In the year 2525.
Yeah.
That's a interesting transhumanist song.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be 200 years, almost 300 years in the future.
What's Bitcoin worth? That's my first question.
Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. There is no other thing to compare it to. It's just all Bitcoin.
But the elite basically are just passing out. They're using bread coin. They're just handing out bread. They don't even care about money. They don't need money anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So that's all gone away, and it's just bread.
Yeah, so it starts out with this disembodied head who calls himself the Puppet Master, right? And
I am Zardoz.
The first thing I thought of was that old tale that a Baphomet was actually a disembodied head. Have you ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm. It's the head that
John the Baptist.
Right, the Templars worshipped this disembodied head of John the Baptist.
Yeah, so there's that esoteric nugget out there.
Well, it also signifies the fact that the elite have full control of reason. They represent the higher faculties in man. They're evolved and ascended. They have all the IQ. And then the tribe that Sean Connery run around his underoos is the lower, baser passions.
Oh, yeah.
They're a tribe of killers.
Uh-huh. It takes a confident man to wear an outfit like that. He did it. He pulled it off.
I have that on, I have that outfit on underneath what I'm wearing right now.
Good. Nice. So the Zardoz head comes and talks to them. He tells them guns are good, the penis is evil because it brings life and humans are a plague.
The gun brings death. The below the belt gun brings life.
PP brings life. Which there is an element in the apron that they wear that has to do with the PP bringing life and stuff.
Yeah, it hangs right over your junk.
Yeah.
Obviously. The obelisk.
Yeah,
of course.
So the apron has this... I'm sure there's an allegory about pure genes or something crazy, right?
Well, it's supposed to...
I should know this.
It has a reference to the skins in the fall.
Oh.
That's what the apron's supposed to represent.
Okay. So, what did you say? Oh, they said this movie was after 1984, but beyond 2001 is what they heralded as.
So, Bormann wants us to think about the dystopia of 1984 and what would happen after 2001, which is kind of a transhumanist future dystopia where there's the Outlands, which is roaming, crazy savages, and then the culling of the population of humans left by the killer tribe that Sean Connery is a part of. And then you have the Elysian fields of the elite that live in these hidden breakaway civilization places called the Vortex, which is inside this bubble run by an AI.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting. John Borman also did Exorcist 2, which was about MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm. It's even mentioned in the film.
Yeah. So all of the elite live in the Vortex or Eden, and they are clones of themselves that come through the walls.
They're regenerated by this AI pyramid that's a crystal AI thing that's like an Internet of Things that has basically the thought realm is reunited with the physical realm in the Vortex. So they have attained such a level of technology that they've overcome death, disease, all of the problems of prior human civilization. But now we've entered into this weird scenario where basically they're called the immortals, the eternals. The humans there live like gods, and they become apathetic, effete, bored, and they just kind of lay around, prancing around.
And they long for death. But they don't die. But if you are punished, you are aged. So you have to live forever as an old person, which that really sucks.
So the punishment, is to just be some old fart dancing around to, trombone music or some shit in an old folks home. Yeah.
No, not even that nice. It was...
I don't remember what it was, but you can't die. So then we find out, spoiler alert, a couple of the elite hatch this plot to run experiments because they're totally scientism based. It's all worship of science. It's Masonic to the degree that they look like and wear Egyptian headdresses, basically. Mm-hmm. So they hatch this plot, a couple of them, to breed a character who would be a killer, a kind of death force, a raw force of nature.
Angel of death.
Right. Zed, who is the Sean Connery character. And the plan was to let him come into the Eden, to the Elysian fields of the gods, and reintroduce death and chaos. And then destroy the elite civilization and the AI so that mankind could return to some sort of natural existence. Mm-hmm. So this is, by the way, this does come up in elite illuminist esoteric philosophies. You have this with Blavatsky. You have this with the yugas, these gigantic ages of civilizations that rise and fall. And the idea going back into, the golden times that perhaps there was some higher level civilization which we all fell from. And what are man's origins? This is kind of an illuminist idea of origins and future.
What was that movie where they have to kill themselves when they're 30?
Logan's Run.
This reminded me of that a lot. So Sean Connery jumps into the Zardoz mouth and he breaks on through the other side of the vortex where the gods live. And they start watching his memories, right? And they start trying
They treat him like a pet, like an animal.
Or like a science project.
Yeah. They're doing tests on him.
While he's on trial, they don't even know if they want to keep him there because he's such a brute compared to them. So they're watching all his memories, and they watch what happens in the outer lands, like television, like the killings and stuff.
Yeah.
So he has this trial, and they decide to let him live as a servant, right?
To do tests on him.
Yeah. They're vegan. Fruitarians, it looks like.
They're effete fruitarians.
Yeah. They make this green bread. I thought it was
and
funny.
And there's a dude prancing around who is part of the conspirator to hatch the plot, and he looks like Paul McCartney with your aunt's hairdo. Jamie said Paula McCartney. I think that was very appropriate. That's exactly what this dude looks like. He's the one that hatches the plan with the Zardoz guy.
Yeah. But even in heaven, they have these problems, like they have to take care of their elderly people that they've banished. And they have to take care of their servant class, which are they call the apathetics, which don't even move.
So he rolls around in a chariot throwing out bread.
Yeah. They want to die. They're punished for aging. Oh, then you find out they all have erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, they can't do anything relating to passion or desire. They've all fallen into what they call the apathetics. They're all kind of effete. They're apathetic. They don't care. And they had ruled that any kind of attraction that's sexual in nature is rape. So it's all rape. Everything's rape.
Mind rape. Oh, and the
way they fight.
Even
to the point of thoughts.
The way they fight, they're like, oh.
Yeah, they fight with their thoughts because you can manifest your thoughts inside the vortex because the thought realm and the physical realm have been rejoined, and the AI connects them.
Let's see. They don't sleep. So none of the pleasures about being alive, sex, food, sleep.
Yeah, they don't need their body anymore, but they're trapped in the bodies because the AI has locked them in the vortex and just regenerates them if they die.
So this is a real Gnostic, Masonic.
Ultimately, it's Gnostic, right?
Yeah. They find out he's physically superior because he's got the strong man genes, right? Wild beast man.
Yes.
But they still have the same ideology as the savages, which is humans are a plague. So they're teaching the savages that humans are a plague, and they also believe that they themselves are part of the human plague. And they all should die. Right?
Yes, and as Thomas says in the chat, he represents the last male man. He's the last guy to get boners for women. That scene is funny, by the way.
Oh, and then a big part of it is the puppet master guy, the elite guy who used to ride in the Zardoz head. He taught
Paula McCartney.
The other guy. He taught Sean Connery how to read.
Oh, right. So we find out that this was all a plan.
Yes. Yeah. So he taught Sean Connery how to read, and Sean Connery read Wizard of Oz, and that's how he figured out that Zardoz was just a charade.
Lie.
Yes.
Right. So they bred Zed. Zed is a eugenics breeding project by the elite to come in and destroy the elite.
Yeah. So he's sort of he's a Lucifer character in the way that he's a liberator.
Yeah, he's death.
And a bringer of death and life too at the same time. So it's pretty crazy.
It is totally Luciferian. Yeah.
Oh, and then at the very end we find out how all of the elites live. They have a crystal implant chip in their forehead, in their third eye, that links them to the crystal of the tabernacle, the Nicolas Cage pyramid.
It does look like his tomb.
His tomb. Yeah.
So we will all be Nicolas Cage in the eschaton when he illuminates and opens our third eye.
So you got this crystal AI god that keeps reproducing the elite out of the goo walls. And they try and kill themselves, but they just keep coming back because the AI wants them to come back. Sean Connery has to go into the Matrix and
destroy the computer.
And then come out and kill everyone. Physically.
And when he does, he goes into the computer, destroys it, and comes out of the computer with the powers of the computer and the vortex.
Good point. So this one is pretty crazy. And then the very end,
we find out
he's Adam.
They're Adam and Eve. So a Battlestar Galactica type of ending.
Very Battlestar.
By the way, if you haven't seen that, I just ruined it for you. So the ending is, it turns out that this is where we got Adam and Eve are like the banished human / god person.
Yeah.
Because Consuela, whom he eventually wins over, is the one who, for most of the movie, hates him and is trying to kill him. Remember that?
And she becomes the new Eve.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, a very esoteric, Gnostic, Luciferian plot. Breakaway civilization, eugenics, transhumanism, AI,
Cloning.
Gnosticism, cloning. I mean, it's got it all.
Yeah.
Population control, breeding, all that's there.
Zardoz.
And yes, now it's time for super chats. By the way, you can still super chat if you want to. Go ahead and get those in. And let's see. That was 2 days ago. Zach M for $10. I love everything you do. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you, Zach M. That was a very sweet thing of you to say.
Can we do it?
Sure.
Vibranium has donated $10. Thank you. Scully's brother, haha, as $10. As much cage raise as possible is greatly appreciated. Do it.
I don't have the rage in me right now. I'm happy and content. It's late in the evening. How about I'll read the next super chat as Nicolas Cage? How's that?
All right, go ahead.
Well, Ray C donated $2, but he didn't say anything. But by the way, you have to say Vibranium, thank you, $10. Even if they don't say anything, you got to make up stuff. Just make it like they said something.
Okay.
All Dare for $5. She says, really enjoy your channel. I have learned lots of new things about how to have a ton of new books to read. Happy Christmas from Bogota, Colombia, Jay and Jamie.
Good.
How's that? Go ahead, Jethro.
Family Plan, $5 from Russia.
No.
What?
Yeah, you're right.
From Russia with Love, and You Only Live Twice, Spill the Beans, but nobody noticed.
Yes, very good movies. We've covered them many times. By the way, there's 50, 60 pages of in-depth 007 esoteric analysis in this book here. Get that for your friends and family. Wake them boomers up with my 007 chapter.
Let's see. Janie Sophia for $10.
No, Jethro.
Oh. Jethro, $10. JD, did you know Mr. Wint in Diamonds Are Forever is Crispin Glover's dad?
Whoa. No.
I had no idea till recently, lol. Thanks for all of the streams, content, Jay and Jamie.
Remember the two weird serial killers?
Oh,
Mr. Wint.
yeah.
One of them's his dad. If you think about it, he looks like him.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yep.
Crazy. Okay. Janie Sophia for $10. Jamie needs the full Nick Cage comforter set. Yeah, I do.
They do make those, by the way.
Oh, do they really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Imagine your whole living room is Nicolas Cage.
I thought when Hannah Montana had all of her stuff coming out, I thought you could probably decorate your entire house, every item with Hannah Montana theme. Let's see. Jesse Matthew has donated $10.
Well, you know how everybody has Marilyn Monroe things everywhere?
Yeah.
And people have Elvis things everywhere?
Yeah. You Nick Cage.
Nick Cage everywhere.
Why not? I'm going to bring the pillowcase on next time.
Okay.
Next time I'm going to show you all my pillowcase. Jesse Matthews donated $10. Any Highlander quotes as Connery or Christopher Lambert? By the way, congrats to your new marriage, guys.
Any Highlander quotes as Connery or Christopher Lambert? That's it. I don't know Highlander quotes off the top of my head. I mean, the Highlander's funny.
There can only be one.
There can only be one. How's that?
Yeah.
Lobsters are shellfish.
Yes, lobsters are shellfish. Nice. Okay, that was fun.
All right. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. Be sure to hit like and share. And I'm sure down the road we'll do more Sean Connery movies. We need to do Time Bandits. We need to do Highlander. There's a lot of goofy, esoteric stuff in there. And he has some political conspiracy thrillers like Wrong is Right. That's got fake flags. This kind of stuff in it. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Hope you had a good night.